Clergy Coalition and the coordinator for social justice for the Missionary Baptist State Convention. We're here tonight to hear from our mayor regarding the travesty, the devastation of the tornado, and the actions that this administration has taken in the aftermath of that tornado. We're going to hear from our mayor. We have, as a clergy coalition, various clergy groups, we've sent her, I think, Madam Mayor, about a couple of dozen questions. We've asked her to respond to those questions. And we're going to give an opportunity for religious leaders to ask questions at the end of her presentation. We'd like to call upon the host of this church, the angel of this church, the Reverend Dr. Jimmy Brown, who will come and welcome us to St. Luke's and offer an opening prayer. And then that will be followed by Dwayne Birch, who is the president of the Metropolitan Clergy Coalition.
Thank you, Brother Gray. We are grateful to God for this day and the honor and privilege being able to come together, and the purpose for which we are coming together is very important. We welcome you here to St. Luke Memorial. We've been a part of city and inner city works since 1940. I've only been here 48 years, so I wasn't here in 1940, but we are grateful for you coming and sharing, and certainly this is an important time. It's an important time for us to come together. And I know there are always differences, and I know I wasn't supposed to make remarks. I was supposed to say welcome. But I have a great passion for what has happened in this city. And I just know that whatever is going on, we can make it better. We, the power of we, can make it better. Thank you again for coming, and you are welcome here at St. Luke. If there's anything that I can get for you while you're here, or anything that you need, let us know. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we come in the name of Jesus, acknowledging and thanking you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We acknowledge right now that even though you've been good to us, we need you. We need you right now as a community, as a city. We need you right now as people. Some of our people are in great distress. And we know that you said in your word, your strength is made perfect in our weakness. So we declare right now, and we own up to our weaknesses, and we ask you for your strength, that we may be able to listen and to share and to work together, that the harmony of the work will bring forth a great transformation and a great healing, not only of the damage from the tornado, but Lord God, the storms that have been brewing in our city for many years, that you would heal us from the hurt that has taken place, that we may be able to overcome and be better and make it a better place for all of the citizens of this city. We love you and we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
We have our congressman here. Because of another commitment, we are going to ask him if he would come and make some remarks, and then we'll call upon Dr. Bowie, president of the Missionary Baptist State Convention, to welcome you and to introduce the mayor, Congressman Bell.
Good afternoon. God puts you right where you need to be, doesn't he? When we look at things that happened in Ferguson and some of the things that we had to deal with, a lot of that was practice for this particular tragedy. The mobilization of donations and helping folks put us in a position where we were ready, closer to ready, to deal with a tragedy like this. And so now we got to take it the rest of the way and start putting in that work and executing from those lessons that we learned. And so, my first job out of law school was as a public defender. And so, as a Ferguson City Councilman, I had to become an expert in community policing and court reforms. And as county prosecutor and diversion programs and alternatives to incarceration. And now I got a new major in FEMA and disaster relief because that's what our community needs. And so that's exactly what we need to become experts in, right? How we help bring this region back and clean up and build up this region. And so I'm going to talk very quickly so I can get out of here and then we can because our role in the federal government, we pray and hope and expect that it's coming. And I'm going to talk to that real briefly and then we can get to what's going on the ground with the mayor as well. So first and foremost, I want to explain to everyone how FEMA works and what that role is, because if that authorization is signed, it will bring tremendous resources to this region that are not only deserved but are needed. And so there are two types of declarations: an emergency declaration and a major disaster declaration. An emergency declaration is for immediate resources after a disaster, to save property, to save people, things of that nature. That major disaster declaration unlocks all the resources for individuals, for all of the potentially, if authorized, for buildings, long-term schools, stuff like that. So it is huge what can be brought to bear if the administration does the right thing and signs that major disaster declaration. Now, what FEMA does is FEMA gives what are called predispositional recommendations. They have recommendations based on a formula, and that formula is based on a certain amount of damage, whether or not they're going to recommend a major disaster declaration. Now, with that said, North City fits that bill. That the damage that is done will be well above the recommendation, but it's still in the president's sole discretion. So even though we've met it, it's $1.84 per capita with respect to the damage. County levels are $4.87 per capita. But at the end of the day, if we're under or over that recommendation, that damage assessment, it's still up to the administration to authorize it, and the administration has sole discretion. I want to be clear on that. So that's why it's important that the entire delegation is working together. And so we see Republicans that are on board. We see both Republican senators that are on board with these disaster declarations. And that increases the likelihood and helps us with the pressure that we can apply on the administration to, again, do the right thing. So people ask me, am I confident? No, I'm not going to be confident until it's done. People ask me, am I concerned? Yes, I'm going to be concerned until those checks are cashed and those resources are in this community. Because again, I want to be clear, it's not just about cleanup. That's an important part, but it's also about the buildup. This community is going to need to be rebuilt, and we need to make certain that we're here for the long term and for the long haul. Even after the national media is gone, and this is not the sexy story anymore, we know that there's still going to be work to do. So we got to have the mindset that we're in it for the long haul. This is not a quick fix. Y'all with me on that, right? So, with that said, the major disaster declaration has been sent by the governor. We are also sending our delegation letter along with the rest of the Missouri delegation, urging the administration to sign that declaration. On average, from the request for an authorization to the signing, on average is 11.4 days. Under this administration, it's been a couple months. And so we are urging the administration to move quickly and to move much more quickly than they have been doing, because folks need that help and need those resources. And so once that authorization, God willing, once it happens, there's usually 30 to 60 days to apply for resources. So if the individual and household assistance is authorized, it's important that we start getting that information out because there is going to be a deadline, a hard deadline. In the county, the March 14th and 15th declarations were just signed a few days ago. Their deadline is July 22nd. They were given 60 days. We hope that the city gets at least 60 days. We can ask for an extension, but that's up to the discretion of the administration. And so it's important that all of our leaders, all of our clergy, everyone who knows more than one person gets that information out when it's time. In the meantime, we're getting out information from our office so we can get folks, so we can start helping folks with the casework ahead of time in the event that those authorizations are declared, so that we can start helping them get that information together, letting them know where to go. So you can always contact our office throughout this entire process. We will be here as a conduit as well. So with that said, in a quick summary, we need that major disaster declaration to authorized. Once that's authorized, you already know the clock will be ticking. And once that clock is ticking, folks have to get those applications in so that they can get the resources that they need. We are all obviously working together, not only with the mayor's office, but all of our local stakeholders and elected officials. I just got off a call with all of our elected officials in North County with respect to the county with respect to the March 14th and 15th declarations, because those don't apply to the city, because FEMA funds are disseminated by county, and because the county and city are separate, those funds can't go to the city. If we were, so that's just how it is. But once that happens, we'll be doing the exact same thing in the city to make sure folks get this information as quickly as possible. So if there's any quick questions, I'll answer them, and then we're gonna get the mayor up here so she can talk about what's going on the ground right now. I guess I did such a great job.
You said the deadline is usually 60 days, and you're hoping to be a 60-day record?
We hope it's 60 days, and whatever it is, we can ask for an extension. We'll do that, but we can't guarantee that it's gonna happen because it's not our call. And so, but that's why it's important. If you know folks who suffered damage of any kind, tell them to start getting their information together as quickly as possible. Or get to us and we'll start working with them now as opposed to waiting until that deadline. Yes, sir.
Just for clarity, did you say that the county had a disaster recommendation already signed?
The declaration from the March 14th and 15th storms that hit back then was just signed. So you can see the timeline they've been going on. That said, North County and those areas did not get hit like North City. So I would hope that they would recognize that and move with more of a sense of urgency, because this was the biggest disaster we've seen since the late 1950s. Yes, ma'am.
When you're saying that people should get some of this information together
Yes.
now, besides the form that you posted on your Facebook page, what other information should they be gathering?
I would start getting insurance information together, receipts, anything I'm thinking, just anything related to the storm. Those are the things that come top of mind. And as we get more information, we'll share that. But just anything related, expenditures, receipts, insurance information, start getting that stuff together as best as you can. Thank you. Current phone number where you can be contacted, the address at the time of the disaster, and the address where they're staying now, which obviously could be different. Have your social security number. Obviously, we don't need that, but have that information ready to go. General list of damage. If insured, the policy number, the agent, company name, have your bank account, all that information just ready to go. And let me be clear, if someone asks you for that information online, do not give that online. We're saying have it ready for when those applications come, you can get that information submitted as quickly as possible. Okay, you good? All right. Thank you, and we will get through this together. to assure you that this is not the only meeting you're going to have with our mayor, congressman, and others. This is just the first. And so we're going to have other meetings throughout the community where we'll have opportunity to hear updates and have our questions answered moving forward. So thank you again, Congressman Bill. I want to recognize the presence of several of our alderpersons. Would you all stand, please? All right, you want to take a second and introduce yourselves to the crowd? Okay. All right. Due to the fact that our mayor has a very busy schedule and we just want to hear and give her as much time as necessary, we're going to do that after the mayor has given her presentation. So y'all, my job is to introduce the mayor. I'm going to do it the way it ought to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of St. Louis, Cara, would you come at this time, Spencer?
Thank you all for gathering here tonight, and also I want to issue an apology on the front of it. We also have a hard stop tonight. We are heading over to SLPS tonight because we are presenting a solution to our warehousing of debris. And so they are on a time crunch, they have a board meeting, and so I just want to be very, very respectful of that. I also want to say that I want to leave the bulk of my time here for direct questions, to answer the questions. I have a short presentation that is just really off the cuff about what we have been doing as your city to support this effort. As you all know, at 3:41 on Friday, May 16th, with 5 or 6 minutes of warning, we were hit by a tornado. You all know that the tornado sirens did not sound. And for that, I deeply apologize, and I recognize that was a failure on the part of the city. We immediately took actions to make sure that that doesn't happen again. It was a failure. We also mobilized immediately. Within an hour, I had called the governor, recognizing the vast amount of damage that our city withstood as a result of this tornado. For those of you who don't know a lot about tornadoes, and I was one of them about 2 weeks ago, tornadoes, generally speaking, hit the ground for about 2 miles, 2 to 3 miles. This tornado was on the ground for 23 miles, 8 miles of which was in our city. It was classified as a high-end EF3. Classifications go up to 5. I argued this was an EF4. I know that because it reached such high winds and such high speed, we couldn't get it reclassified. Nonetheless, we know that the damage, because of the duration of time that it was on the ground, the width of it, at times a mile wide, was enormous. We hear about tornadoes, and tornadoes are awful no matter where they hit. But the specifics of this tornado, being on the ground for as long as it was, as wide as it was, and in a city, is almost unprecedented. Within an hour, recognizing we are going to need, as the congressman pointed out, federal funding. There is no doubt. Our city, no city in the United States could possibly shoulder the burden of this alone. We know that. We're not designed to do that. I was on the phone with the governor within an hour. He picked up the phone. That was Friday at 4:30 p.m. By 5 o'clock, I was in a helicopter surveying the damage with our police department and our fire chief. We surveyed the entirety of it, and I gotta tell you, that was one of the first times I've ever been in, it was the only time I've ever been in a helicopter that didn't have doors on it. And it was very windy still. It was very clear immediately the vast amount of damage that we had had. Our team, recognizing that our emergency management system of a city, we had 4, 5, depending on how you classify them, employees. The mayor's office, Julian Nix, my chief of staff, Nancy Hawes, Dan Gunther, the folks in the mayor's office, of which there were probably 7 of us, didn't leave until 1 a.m., got back there at 7 a.m. and have not done that every day just about since, recognizing that we didn't have an emergency management system that was equipped to deal with this type of emergency. Our fire department immediately mobilized a regional response. They pulled in fire departments from all over the region. When you looked around, you had Afton, you had Chesterfield, you had fire departments from all over, and what they did was they gridded out the area of impacted. And they went in the 36 hours after the aftermath and went into every single home and checked to see for people in need. And they saved the lives of many people that night and the day after. And we're very grateful for that, because the damage could have been so much worse if it wasn't for our fire department. But it's not just our fire department. You all, the community, went out to neighbors and pulled people, their community, their neighbors, out of the rubble. This would have been so much worse if it weren't for neighbors and community stepping up, stepping in, hearing cries, and working with people's interests. After that, we got immediately engaged in not only making sure our sirens were able to respond, but pulling together the regional partners from the rest of the region to understand to lay out the process of what we need to get the federal funding and establish a long-range plan. Our community partners, including churches like Grace Methodist, all over the region, started to house people in triage. We know that this is going to go well beyond what our partners in the community can hold. And so our team has been putting together the long-range plan. How are we going to make sure that we have nutrition available for the next 6 months? How are we know that the shelter space that was stood up, that have been housing and holding about 200 people over the last 10 days, is only a fraction, a tiny fraction of the amount of people impacted. Most people are being housed within community. Neighbors, family members, people on the same block have been holding our community in the last 10 days. As the capacity to continue to do that wears out, and it will, we are all human. We have to have a long-range plan. That's what we're putting together. As the congressman pointed out, in order to get federal funding, the first and most critical part of that was getting the governor, who doesn't match my political party, or I'm guessing the political party of most of you all, and most of the impacted. We needed him to issue the letter to the president. He was on the ground by 8:30 a.m. Saturday morning. He flew directly here on Saturday and met me at the command center at the corner of Delmar and Kings Highway, and we personally surveyed the majority of the impacted area. And I gotta give our governor some credit. That man walked in to Harlem Chapman with me and met Boo Boo, the owner of that place, and talked to him and shook his hand and said, I'm gonna do everything I can to help you rebuild. This is the building that was 3 stories the day before and had completely collapsed. Governor Mike Kehoe walked into that building with me on Saturday morning. Later in the next couple days, the days are kind of running together, Senator Eric Schmidt, Senator Josh Hawley have both met me on the ground and really surveyed. Mike Kehoe has now taken 3 visits in the last 10 days to this area. He grew up in Walnut Park in Baden. He considers this his home. And I do have faith that our delegation is really, truly coming together here. And if you have any doubt about it, just look at the Board of Aldermen. We fight all the time, and we've actually come together on this. We are truly coming together in a way that we need to in order to get our president to sign the orders that the congressman talked about. It is the only way to get the FEMA declaration. But I will point out, as we moved through this, some of the things that took us a long time, as the congressman was talking about, we had to get wrap our head around what the damage, the financial cost was so we could make that application. That was what was taking us some time. We did it as fast as we could do it. We do believe we were in par with the national average there, but we also know it took time that caused more trauma in the community. And for that, I personally apologize. We are working, I promise you, as hard as we can. And we are on track. And I don't want to give false hope, but I do have confidence that we are doing literally everything we can do. And I do believe earnestly that our representatives are showing up in the way that we can have them do to support us getting that federal designation. And here we are today, regardless of all that work. And we mobilized our city departments, all hands on deck. I made the personal declaration Friday night. I think it was about 11 p.m. before we had the Amber Boykins Sims, our registrar, show up to EOC, the police headquarters, and get that signed on the dotted line. But we made that declaration, so what that meant was that we could deploy all resources in the city without having to go to the Board of E&A and get approval. And that meant we could have our crews, forestry, parks, working 12-hour days, prioritizing clearing roads to make them passable so that Ameren trucks could get the power restored and that we could make sure that folks could get in and out of the community. We were able to do that within 48 hours. And we didn't do it alone. We know community moved trees, moved debris, and helped to report when things continued to fall and continued to create hazards. Thank you. But our city workers worked their tails off. But we also know that all this work is not enough. We do need federal partners, we do need state partners, and that is where we are focusing on making sure we get that. Thank you to welcoming the governor. I know many of you we have seen you in community as we walk around. We were in Fountain Park yesterday. I don't think you'd ever met a group of socialists, and was friendly with them. But that was one of my most favorite but interesting interactions. I said, Governor, believe it or not, we're not in the same political party. He said, really? I always wondered about these people. But he has been down to earth and been really helpful as much as I can imagine. Somebody who's also new to his position, being with somebody who is fairly new to my position. We are building relationships, and we are doing that with the eye on getting FEMA here. Okay, I've talked enough. I'm going to take some questions. Yes?
When it comes to cleaning private property, is that the business owner's responsibility?
I'm sorry.
We're going to ask folks, if you'll at least stand so that we can make sure that we hear the question.
Cleaning on private property, whose responsibility is that? I don't have a definitive answer right now. What I will say, in addition to all the city workers and the community that's come together to stand up, O'Fallon, For the Ville, the Urban League, and pop-ups all throughout, is absolutely phenomenal. We were doing our best to try to get resources to help, but we couldn't have done that without the distribution hubs that the community put together. I'll also say that as far as debris removal, in addition to the city workers, at the end of last week and then again starting today, we had, I think, 36 workers representing the major contractors in the region. Almost everybody, the Claycos, the big guys with the Albericis, with the big trucks. We had 25 front loaders and I think another 30 back loaders, doubling the city's capacity for debris removal out, donated free resources from the contractor community. And so we're working on trying to get some assistance. It technically, I believe, is the responsibility of the homeowner, but we recognize nobody could possibly remove a roof. Okay, this is too big. And so what we're doing as we're standing up, we have a dump site for contractors, and we are standing up 4 additional smaller sites to hold the debris, the large amount of debris, while we work on getting it to a landfill. This is going to be temporary. We're starting with just 2 weeks while we make the space and the contracts available with the landfill space, and those will be within community. We have also pledged to remediate. We recognize that holding debris can cause damage, but we want to make sure we have a path to getting it out of the living space where people live and moving it to hubs so we can collect it and then move it completely out of community. We also know there are going to be some health concerns associated with that, and we are looking to make sure that we mitigate that as much as we possibly can. Recognizing that on the front end is a key piece of that. Following events like this, we know that there are going to be other health concerns. There have been in other cities that have experienced tornadoes. Joplin had a host of health concerns related to it, and we are learning about all those and trying to take all the appropriate steps to prevent those from happening here. I don't have the definitive answer about at the end of the day, where all the responsibility lies, but it is our intention and our goal to make sure that we have a path to getting debris out of people's personal property and supporting that as best we can and getting that done as quickly as possible. We did request the National Guard come in. That had to go through the governor. The governor did approve that. We have one mission right now, and they are going to be organizing those hub debris sites for us to make sure they're manned well, to man appropriately, thoughtfully, and that we are thinking through that in that professional manner that the National Guard can bring to us.
Question. Concerning what the congressman said about gathering information
Yes.
and that type of thing and getting it to the proper people, what are the people supposed to do that don't have that information, whose information is gone, no records or anything? And also, what about those that don't have insurance?
Yes.
What are they to do in terms of getting the aid or funding that they need when they're devastated like that?
Let me talk about the back end first, because the and underinsured is a huge portion of what we're looking at, folks experiencing the calamity here. When we were walking around with the governor, we were asking people, what is your biggest concern? Overwhelmingly, that was what it was. He heard that, and when he called the special session this morning to consider some funding for a stadium in Kansas City, he also put together a package for victims of tornado that specifically focus on and underinsured. Some aid from the state on that. And I am personally grateful that he heard that. We've been working with you, expressing that as a priority for my administration, for the city, as far as aid for the tornadoes concerned, and that's part of it. At the city level, we also introduced a couple of bills at the Board of Aldermen that should hopefully start to address some relief with regards to standing up the tenants funds. We recognize a lot of folks are not homeowners themselves, but your question about the and underinsured is crucial, and we know that that's a big piece. We want to keep everybody here in St. Louis. I talked a lot about population loss over the last year. Population loss has been centered in this area. I talked about over the last year being held accountable for stemming the tide of population loss. And I want my record to be tied to how we keep people here through the recovery and rebuilding after this tornado. I want to be very clear about that. I answered the question about the insurance. What was the other question?
About the information that they need.
Okay. This is more difficult to answer. What I will say regarding FEMA and regarding the assistance, we have put together a question, what we we will be disseminating that information and trying to work to ensure that every single person affected in the grid is touched. And that is a process that we're going to go through painstakingly, just as the fire department did through a grid process, to ensure that there was nobody left inside of a building. So we're going to prioritize those properties that we know are occupied. We have that information through the building division occupancy database. We're also going to be working to prioritize getting housing for folks whose buildings are structurally unsound, to make sure that in the meantime, as we as we move through the long-term housing phase, that we're prioritizing vouchers for those folks.
There's a question here, and then the lady here.
I'll let you point out, Rev.
One, the lady here, gentleman there. And just give me those four, and then we'll start over.
When we think about the RAM settlement funds or the ARPA funds, can you speak to that? How would that be dispersed, if it will be dispersed?
We don't have final plans for that. But what I can say on the ARPA funds, all of those funds had to be allocated before the end of last year, and they were, as far as these federal laws were concerned. Our team immediately took and requested and have been identifying all unspent ARPA funds that have enough flexibility in how they were allocated to where they could be focused on this recovery effort. And so we are in the process of fully developing that. We believe it to be at least over tens of millions of dollars at this point. How we are able to distribute those to have the biggest and most immediate impact, we don't have that fully vetted, but we are working on it as a priority. I would say the same is true of the RAMS funds. We've taken a look at the impacted tenants funds, and we are looking at ways to bolster that with some additional funds through some creative use of the Affordable Housing Commission dollars or other ways in which we have funds available now. I don't have the answer. I don't want to be acting unilaterally here. We are working in coordination with the Board of Aldermen. We want to be thoughtful. We also want to be quick. So it's a balance there in how we're doing that.
So there has been a talk, and we've seen that some people have been getting
Louder.
I'll repeat the question.
and people have been getting evicted, and by the 26th is their eviction of them. So they don't pay rent already. So where, can they get their deposit back, or can they get their money back to go look for somewhere else to live?
We are trying. The question was about people that are getting forced out through evictions immediately. These are very heartbreaking stories, and ones I don't have a clear, overarching answer for, because the rights of tenants depend on what their lease agreement with the landlord looks like. These are legal questions and not overarching. We're encouraging anybody who's experiencing that to not only reach out to us, but Legal Services of Eastern Missouri, and we are trying to stand up some legal services to help those who are experiencing that exact question. It's not a simple blanket response, because often, to be very transparent, some of these buildings are so badly damaged that it's not safe to stay in them. And we don't want to encourage people to remain in a building that's structurally unsound. One of the other things that we had to do was ask Ameren to remove the electricity from buildings that were deemed red. This added trauma to people whose buildings were very, very badly damaged. We know that. We also recognize that when a side of a building is sheared off, there are live wires in that structure that could catch the building on fire and really cause more trauma. So we recognize that best practices were to, very unfortunately, shut the electricity off to ensure that we weren't going to be causing widespread any fires, and putting people's lives at risk because of that. So, that's just a terrible, terrible additional trauma. There's over 1,000 buildings that have received the red mark, which is purely informational, but it is important information because it tells the occupants that this building is not structurally sound, and to use extreme caution when entering it. We're not prohibiting, we're not punishing anybody who enters those buildings, but it is important to recognize that that information, we do really encourage extreme caution when entering those buildings to protect yourselves from further injury.
I was wondering if there is a centralized number of residents who have been impacted where they can call to report from. I have heard different stories where people have been taken advantage of and have spent thousands of dollars, and people have just gone and without help.
This question was about fraud and hotline. This was also brought up at the meeting we held with the governor and for the bill. And he immediately mobilized to get a hotline and activated that office to take a more active approach with regards to this particular incident. I don't have the number handy. Maybe, Julian, is it possible for you to look that up and we can disseminate it before we leave? It's a state hotline, and they are taking these things seriously. They should be.
Reverend McClam had his hand up, and then there's a lady in the back. Reverend McClam, the lady right here. Brother Zaki here, and then there's one.
I work with young house and people with substance abuse and mental health disorders. I do have beds and stuff for them, but there's no funding. How do we reach out to somebody to get funding to get these people that is already on the street, but to help them get treatment and get the services that they need? You have a big problem, not enough funding for treating people and stuff anyway.
The question is about the unhoused and getting additional services to folks who are experiencing homelessness. In general, and as a result of this, I will tell you, the city has not had enough funding for the unhoused for my lifetime, for years and years. The way that we have funding is through the federal government. We get about $17 million a year through HUD and ESG and other things. But we know, given the number of folks experiencing homelessness in St. Louis, well over 1,000, that is not nearly enough to address the need. As we move through this, as far as a centralized hub and number goes, we don't have one right now, but I think we should, especially as we move through and have smaller hubs beyond just the shelter space. So let us think about that and take that request and maybe circle back. As we are taking notes here, we'll find ways to circle back on all these issues.
Lady here, and then others that keep. I got it.
Okay.
4, 1, 2, 1, 2. The lady here.
Okay.
I've got you covered. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't see the order, but I'll take them.
My question is, this meeting was called with churches and different leaders in the community. What partnership or what role do you want the churches to play? And what long-term efforts do you want the churches to have with you and as far as a partnership? Because at the end of the day, when everybody go back to their normal lives, people are going to be looking to the church as that beacon of hope. And it's like, if we don't have no direction on which way that we need to go, everybody, it's not going to end well. Everybody's going to be looking to the church. But everybody has only limited amount of resources and funding to be able to help the families who have been, affected by the tornado. So I just want to know, what is the plan for the church and how will you support the churches in the efforts to help the families in the community?
What role do the churches play, and what role can they play when lives get back to normal? On the front end, our lives are not going to get back to normal anytime soon. We have a long road ahead and a lot of work that we have to do together. The church is playing a crucial role in being the boots on the ground, being the community, and for one, being a place where I can be asked questions, where community can have questions answered, at least asked, is important. We also are looking to some churches who have stood up shelter, who have stood up nutrition centers, who are stood up to be distribution sites. Some churches have badly damaged. We know that, and we're looking to try to find ways to make those communities, those church communities, whole and be able to get through this. So it looks different for every church, but I would say there's an incredibly important role, not just through this. Hopefully this can be built on a long-term relationship with the broader network of communities, the city government, but also the nonprofits and the other folks who are in the construction community that's coming out to really help. We not only have those big contractors. Now, once the big machine, and we have a whole host of those, we have a whole host of community, of contractors of all size that need to be mobilized and need to get access to the funding that we will have, hopefully, to be able to rebuild our communities. So that piece is incredibly important to how we move through this. But I would welcome any church to come up with a way in which they want us to engage, how we can be supportive, and how that can go both ways.
The mayor indicated, we're going to get represented, but the mayor did indicate at the beginning that she had another hard stop. I think they're trying to get more time, I think. We do have our older people here. We have representatives from the National Red Cross here. So when the mayor does leave, we want to give opportunity to our older people to let us know what they're doing and how we can help them. And we have our Red Cross as well, who is going to tell us what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be helping churches, and churches can help the community.
I'm not going anywhere right now.
Okay, good. So Brother Zacchaeus first, and then I think the lady here, and then the lady here, and then we'll go.
As a kind suggestion to your administration, the Community Justice Coalition would recommend that you create like a one-stop center in the devastated areas where people can come in and ask questions and get their information answered by different resources at that particular center.
That's a one-stop shop for resources and information. We have 3 sites, main hubs that we have been supporting. That is the O'Fallon YMCA, the For the Ville, and the North Kings Highway Urban League. We intend to fully equip them, keep those fully equipped with all the information. They can hopefully act as those sites for information distribution, resource distribution. We are going to be working on getting construction materials and a whole host of things that are going to be pushed out through those 3 distribution sites. And if we can stand up additional hub resources, we're going to do that as well. We're going to have to be doing assessments through the community, standard assessments that have some level of standardization through FEMA. All of those have to be pushed out to the community and pulled back in so that we can get folks the resources they need through that federal assistance program. I will, just real quickly, on the FEMA side, I do want to point out one thing as well. The request that there's an individual request, there's the designation for individual calamity, and then the public side. We focused on the individual first. So that is that request by the governor is for assistance to individuals. We're now shifting to ask for assistance to the public entity, the city, and other public entities that have been impacted. But we focused on that first, so hopefully the president will sign that and we can move forward with some individual assistance through FEMA.
Good. Here and here. And I apologize, my back was here, so I'm going to take a question or 2. 1 question, 2 questions from over here. then we'll move over. So my apologies up there.
Okay, it is my understanding that the state of Missouri has approximately 22,000 National Guard. And my concern is that under the United States Code on Title 32, the responsibilities of the National Guard will be the first responders in the case of a national disaster. My concern is also is that on Wednesday, the governor is sending 41 National Guards. When we had the incident in Ferguson, they sent out over 2,200 National Guards. Okay, so, right, with tanks. Why the number of 41? We have, there are over 5,000 people who have been displaced in the St. Louis City community. More hands on deck will allow us to move this process a little faster. So my concern is why the 41?
So the question is about why we don't have more of the National Guard here. We are receiving one deployment right now, 41 of the, I don't know how many we have in Missouri. Say that again. It's not exactly the governor's call. I'm going to take some responsibility here. Initially, when you talked about Ferguson and the large numbers that came to Ferguson, that was for security and they were armed. We didn't need that here. The life-saving that was done by the fire department and the exceptional work that our police department did securing the area, we did not need the National Guard to come in and over-police our neighborhoods. And I have to say, I'm very pleased with the response of our fire and our police department. So we did not request them to come for security measures. They can also do other things that are, yes. So the request does have to be made by the city. We had a National Guardsman embedded. I believe he came here Friday night. It might have been Saturday morning that he arrived. And his job and his role was to identify ways, in order for us to get a National Guard's platoon or a mission, it has to be very clearly defined and it has to be very specific in nature. What you want them to do. Typically they do come for security. We did not need that, we did not want that, and we did not request that. It was not granted. They have some other levels of expertise, and we had to learn what that could be from the person who was embedded with us. We did struggle with specific missions we could request. We did request 4 separate missions. We were granted this one. This one is to just be manning the debris distribution sites. It's possible we get additional ones. Believe it or not, the National Guard isn't free. They're not a free resource. We do pay for them. And they aren't exactly inexpensive. Not to say that we're making those decisions based on that. But at the end of the day, the work that they can do can also be done within community. And so we were trying to balance some of that. They can't rebuild our houses. They can't do some of the immediate things that we need to be doing, the debris removal, that sort of thing. They can do deployments and missions and other things, but we really relied on the National Guard to help educate us on what they could do, construct the mission requests, make those requests, and the governor did grant this one for us. We are mobilizing other units that specialize in that other work, the debris removal, the building, the other pieces that need to be done as a result of it, who may be better equipped to address those. But I will say, we did not ask for the troops to come in. They are typically the armed National Guard. We did not want it, we didn't request it, and they have not been here for that.
We're going to move to 2 questions over here. I know you have your hand up over here, but let's try to get 2 people, 1, 2, and then we'll go back. I see the lady here on the first row and over here. So let's, 2 questions over here.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm a St. Louis businessman. And I was moving to say something.
Before everybody stops, because we're on a short time, we're asking people, ask your question. Whatever your question is, we're asking people, ask your question. Please, because of time.
The number one concern that I'm seeing, and I appreciate all the effort you've done, and I wish I had more time to tell the public what you've done for the city. But the number one thing I'm seeing is that there are people that are going into the communities trying to buy their houses. And this is, I give you this acknowledgement, because you get into a car accident and you bump your head and you get out the car woozy, and the guy that hits you says, hey, sell me your car for $10. I know you're going to take care of this, Mayor. You have a lot on your plate. What I came down here to tell you is the entire state of Missouri, St. Louis County, state of Missouri, the federal delegation supports you, believes you. But I ask the pastors here to tell your congregation not sell the property.
Thank you very much. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and we'll have a chance for that, but the mayor will have to leave. Any commentary? We'll save it for after the mayor.
I think we've got the St. Louis Public School Board meeting covered. I don't want to leave questions unanswered.
Very good. From here, 2 questions, and then we're going to go back over here to you.
Reverend Gray, she's been waiting a while.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Perkins. Would you yield to these 2, and then you'll be the third one?
Are you sure?
Scouts on.
Okay.
You're dealing with back pain. I lost 2 buildings in this back. But unfortunately, they weren't insured. But the Missouri statute was audited 67.
Did you say were or were not?
They were underinsured. These are like big commercial buildings. Now, my insurance company said that ordinance 67.410 is what my insurance company gave me 25% to the city to knock down the buildings.
Okay. This is something that is, we haven't thought through, but we are aware. The way that what you were referring to, there is an ordinance that requires when a building has sustained massive damage, okay, and you have insurance, you get a payout, okay? The ordinance requires the insurance company to give 25% of the payout to the city to hold in escrow until you as the property owner make that building whole, either through full demolition or restoration. The purpose of this, and it's very useful, by the way, this ordinance has been very useful because when you have a building owner who has a fire, okay, and then they cash out their insurance, they leave the shell, okay, and they leave that shell for the rest of us. Well, that's terrible. What the city does is hold 25% of your insurance money as a property until you fix that for us, okay, or you take it down. And I have personally, as an older person, used that a lot of times, and I'm grateful it exists, because otherwise, when a fire or something else happens, these guys just walk away. Well, so, but in this instance, okay, that is not what's going on here. So we need to work that out for this. I don't know the answer to it. We have it on our radar. It is important, and we aren't going to hold you all accountable for making sure that your buildings get back up to normal after a tornado. But I did want to say why that exists and how it has been helpful in the past.
But so when that came out, so the fund was already off that. So my question, would there be any money for within the city to knock down some of these buildings, or?
Yes.
Because that's a lot of money that they're getting.
You're right. You're right. I don't know the full answer to that, but I will say that when it comes to that ordinance, the purpose of it is to make the community whole, whether you take the building down or restore it. And I want to see every building that was impacted by this tornado either restored or taken down, because otherwise we're going to have another long-term problem on our hands. So we do want to see that addressed. How that plays out, I don't have the answer to. But we do need all these buildings at the end of the day to either come down or be restored.
Mayor, you talked about having hubs for legal services. This continues to come up with some people within our community. I was wondering if do you have any plans about expanding them, where and when, is actually a two-part question. Do you have some kind of liaison in your office that faith-based organizations can reach out to let them know the types of services and spaces we can offer? Because I'm sure there's people in this room that are willing to open up their buildings as a legal hub. You know?
Thank you. Part of this work on the legal hub side of things will come with is part of the Impacted Tenants Fund. But we also know that it's not just tenants that are having legal questions and legal issues. We are working to mobilize the legal community on this. I don't have the answer right now, but I think having hub spaces that are faith-based, community-based, whatever that looks like, is a good spot to have that. And Julian is here with my office and taking all these notes, and we'll figure out kind of where those lies. Thank you for that suggestion. I don't have a firm answer right now, but I think it would work well.
The young lady in the back that I promised I wouldn't forget.
I'd like to
And then this lady, and then there's one here, and then
I'd like to inquire about Fountain Park. Fountain Park, that's a resource center for a lot of people, and I want to know from you, are you going to keep Fountain Park up and available for people to come every day to receive services? Because it's not being kept up now. It has been in the stepchild status for a long time, but it's a great resource for people can come, but the trash and the other things we have are not being kept up. I'd also like to say the contractors that you speak of, I have never seen them in my neighborhood. The people that did the most work in our neighborhood was the Samaritan Purse. I have seen no trucks from Samaritan's Purse.
Are you in Mountain Park?
Yes, ma'am, I am. They have been the ones over there cutting down at no charge. But the people that you talk about, I have not seen. And I'd like for Fountain Park to be a priority and receive the services. I'd also like to know, have you contacted the Department of Health? Because we have people that come in, all they do is work and come home. They are lost. These people need a main number that they can call and receive some type of direction. Everybody don't go to church and everybody don't vote.
You're right.
But we need a main number where people can call and get some kind of direction for their
A
life.
main number for people to call.
Yes, ma'am. At Fountain Park.
Okay. I hear you. I think that is an important way to centralize things, and we will work on that, specifically for mental health. Number two, let me change that, at least with the contractors or who's out there, and let me make sure that you see them in your neighborhood. And number three, on the Fountain Park itself and standing that up, we recognize that the work that's been happening there is incredible, needed, and is going to peter out. And we are working on trying to make sure that we can stand that up as we move forward. Okay.
question here. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know who you are.
Have them come to the mic.
You're next. First of all, I'm sorry. You had your hand up forever? Yes. For those who have soft voices, we have a microphone up here. If you don't have a soft voice, we need you to shout out. So you're right. Here, because you were first, and your hand was up. But I'm going to get y'all in a minute because I'm going to focus over here. So y'all bear with me. The mayor's not going anywhere. So 1, 2. Whoever was 2 is now 3. Whoever was 3 is 4. Whoever was 4 is 5. That's that. You know who you are. I showed you your numbers.
This is for the mayor and for the congregations. I feel like the need right now is like a mass education campaign for the people.
You may have to repeat that.
Mass distribution site for
Mass education campaign, because there's all these different things that people need to understand about how to get their insurance claim. They're overwhelmed. They have so many things that they're trying to check on. I think the churches and our community development corporations are a major resource with educational courses or classes. I don't know if there's classes that are being formed to help people navigate and know what to do when they're in trauma, but also trying to navigate all these difficult decisions. But I'm wondering if we could think about like an education hub that could be posted somewhere on the city website that churches or community development corporations could list classes so people could go to one spot and just have somebody who's walking them through what to be doing to rebuild.
We have a website, so the idea of having a one-stop shop for information and educational purposes, I think this is a fantastic idea and obviously very needed. We do have a website. We're building out an FAQ right now, and so we're encouraging you, if you have questions or you know that there are questions in the community, make sure we get that there. As far as classes go, to be honest, I hadn't thought of that. That's not to say my team hasn't, or the broader team hasn't thought of that. I think we'll take that back. I think it's a good idea. It's a great idea, actually, if we can have a couple courses on how to deal with, hopefully, how to deal with FEMA, how to deal with insurance, how to have some workshops instead of having these folks try to go out one-on-one. If we can pull some resources, putting those kind of workshops together is a great idea.
I really don't need a mic.
You don't.
I just want to commend the community. You showed up and showed out. You put boots on the ground when we said, just hold, somebody said, just hold it up. You said, we can't. We've got holes in our roofs. I don't even have a roof, okay? But the thing of it is, it was wonderful to see how the community came out. They started cleaning up. And not only that, we also had people that donated the food trucks. I don't know if any of you are in here. They came out, they fed the people non-stop.
I'm going to ask you to ask your question.
I don't have a question. I'm sorry. But I am thankful because no one was injured, no life was taken. And when I look at my three pieces of property that have no roofs, I know it's going to get taken care of some kind of way. And the firemen, international, whoever they are, the firemen, they came and they parked my property where I live, so that I don't have rain falling in on my people.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Come on. You want to come up?
I'm mad at the videos right now, all of y'all.
I can humble
Whoever, in your numbers, we're going to ask you the numbers. You saw the numbers I gave you. Just come up behind the next person. It'll be a lot easier. You saw the numbers I gave you. You were 6. Did I give you a number that matters? Make sure you social distance. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, honestly, please just ask the question. Please. Please. Because we have too many questions to be asked. So please just ask the question. That's right.
Good evening, Mayor Spencer. My name is Anastasia. My question to you, I have a two-part question. My first question is, we have a lot of volunteers and we have a lot of people that have been exposed to particles and things during this disaster. We don't have people on the ground giving tetanus shots to these people, and that's much needed at this time. So can the city's SEMA department provide that? That is my first part question. My second part question is, I got an email this morning in my office from Governor Keogh's office stating that they're allocating funds that has to go to legislation and probably would be approved on the 2nd. So are those, or are a portion of those funds, if they're allocated, coming to the city, or do foundations have to apply directly to that department?
The question, let me answer the first one first, particles. Look, we have got to we're working on getting the PPE, the masks, please wear them. There's all asbestos, all kinds of stuff. We know that the health concerns are only going to get worse. Okay, take this seriously. Tetanus, I don't think, so our SEMA staff is like 3 to 4 people. So I just want, we have partners. Our EOC, the Emergency Command Center, was 90 at its most. We're looking at right about 70 right now to try to triangulate this whole plan. The tetanus, I'll be honest with you, I don't know that that's on our radar, but it should be, and it will be after tonight, because that's a really important question, and it's a really important point, especially as we're walking around with all these kind of nails and stuff like that. We will get a plan on getting people tetanus shots.
Just for people to know, so yes, we do have our department.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people on the ground with that, including at the resident sites.
Do they have tetanus shots?
That part of the
It should be your health unit or your Red Cross.
You're right.
Or your SEMA department. I know Louisiana State, and those things should have been on the ground first, because people's lungs are being exposed to all of this.
We did have PPE out there. We were trying our best to get it out. We know it didn't get out to everybody. Please take lots of it. We're going to continue to replenish that. Masks, use it, and we'll make sure we have tetanus on our radar to start getting that out. It's a little bit complicated because you have to make sure that you haven't already had one, or whether you had one, so there's a little bit of a complication there, but we will make sure that we have tetanus on our radar. The other question was related to the state funding. The governor announced today in that special session that he is asking the legislature to come back after they dismiss for summer to consider 2 things. One, the stadium funding for Kansas City, okay, and some tornado disaster relief for St. Louis. That will, I don't believe, go to nonprofits. I believe it will be a direct source of assistance for under and uninsured folks in the tornado zone. There's also a component, I believe, that will address some taxes. But it should be direct. It should be direct.
Truly appreciate you saying to answer questions. I think that it's really, really important that there's some oversight for the contractors and construction companies. So as they begin to come into our community, the most vulnerable among us have never had a construction project before. So how will the city help to ensure that these contractors and construction companies are doing the right thing? And will we be made aware of any contractor and construction company that's taking advantage of our community?
We don't have the plan in place, but we will. It is important. We do recognize I'm a homeowner, and I haven't had major construction done before to my house. Most people have not. This is a learning curve. We also want to use the work that's coming, okay, to funnel back into the contractors that are part of our community. And so having some accountability on where those go. We also recognize we have some considerations on federal funding related to DEI, that is the current administration. We have some issues that we're working through there. But as far as having some accountability on contractors, it's on our radar. That's a little, we don't have it flushed out, but we do recognize that's a huge need. Then regular people in times of distress, just like this car accident situation, you know, where our community is experiencing collective trauma. And so to be able to make those decisions, big decisions about replacing a roof, an entire roof, are tough ones. So thank you for bringing that up. It's on our radar, and we'll continue to move through as the rebuild starts. We're still in the the remove phase, where we're trying to get the debris out, but that is an important piece.
Good evening. Reverend Gray, thank you so much for pulling this together. We appreciate you. Mayor, thank you for coming. Summertime is a very scary and a very hard time for children, especially with as many children we have in transition and not in homes. This morning at 10 o'clock, running down my street were 3 teenagers shooting at each other. They shot in my mom's house. I called Reverend Gray because the issue emanated right across the street from his church. And I'm standing here today to ask you to be a voice for the children who don't have a voice. They need somewhere to go. They need something to do. They need some adult mentors who can lead them and help them build paradigms for lifelong success. We've been in Fairground Park, and I'm sure you know that, for 14 years. I've been volunteering there. We have a program from 8 to 6. I'm offering my services, and I pray that the churches will join in with us to create some safe, supervised, fun learning experiences for children at locations throughout the city. Madam Mayor, I'm asking you, can we get City Rec and Parks to start pulling together some of the churches and some of the not-for-profits so that we can provide some spaces for children? I'm just saying some of the kids are sleeping in tents now. They're out of school. They need food. The St. Louis Public School District and all the districts that provide food for children when they're in school through federal assistance, they have the ability to pull the food together. We just need to get a team together, get busy, and help our children. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Reverend Gray.
I think that's a great question. And one of the more heartbreaking things we had to do over the last few days was push off the reopening of the pools for the summer. This came as a request from the Rangers and other city employees that were really focused on the recovery efforts. We did that for 2 weeks. It was heartbreaking. Literally the first thing I did when I became an alderman was reopen the Marquette Pool in South St. Louis, the only free public pool down there. And I recognize that those rec centers, those hubs are really important pieces. Being able to partner with church. I don't know what that looks like.
I'll be happy to show you what our program looks like.
Excellent.
We volunteer in the park, take up no funding facilities or utilities, and we staff our camp for 14 years with volunteers.
Thank you. Well, let's arrange me to come by, our team to come by and take a visit and figure out how we can make that work.
Fine, Reverend Gray, I'll help you too.
So I'm on TV, I think somebody's recording this.
And if he doesn't do it, I'll be right there to make sure to take over the law.
Thank you, Reverend Gray, and thank you for taking the time, Mayor Spencer. My question is, what sort of safeguards are in place to ensure that communities have access to funding that is being distributed equally, especially amongst those vulnerable communities?
We haven't distributed any funding yet. And so I would say if you have identified mechanisms that you think would be helpful, let us know as we build that infrastructure out. Right now, we're focused on trying to get the funding to individuals. That's through FEMA and through the state funding for the un and underinsured. Those would go directly to folks that are applying for it. We are going to mobilize, if the legislature passes that, funding stream to make sure that our people in the city get those applications in right away. Because there's going to be a finite cap to that funding, we want to make sure that we're getting the need met as best we can. As far as big amounts of funding, distributed equitably, we welcome your thoughts on that. It is an important piece. We don't have the plan fully fleshed out yet. We don't have the money yet, but we do intend to distribute it equitably through the zone. This is an area that has been disinvested in for a long time. There's a high level of need throughout the impact zone, and we recognize that. And so please walk through this with us and help us to determine pitfalls as you see them as we go through.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Pastor Grant. My question is, since we have
local commercial landscaping companies that's contracted with the LRA, but they're not being used at all. They've been shut down. Is there a reason that they cannot be used, or they're not being used?
I'm unaware that that happened, so we'll get to the bottom of that. Gee, was that just this year that they were shut down?
This is going on right now. I can give you information and names and companies and all.
Yeah, reach out to us. I wasn't aware of that, so I can't answer that, but I can't think of why that would be the case. We need to be mowing lawns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll get with you after this.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mayor Spencer, you talked about having these programs put in place, and we have the major hubs. I'm just looking for a better understanding of how everything will be organized. And with these major hubs, is there an opportunity to plan to streamline assistance by putting city services at the hub so that people don't have to go to City Hall and Park and get the things that they need? And is it possible to get copies of the applications that will have to be completed, or the process that has to happen for individuals to get services, so that the churches and different organizations can work with their their constituents, their members, their churches, to help prepare them to receive the funding. Specifically, we feel like there's going to be proof of ownership that's going to happen, and so people are going to need access to their deeds, and it would be great if that can be distributed rather than for them to have to go downtown and get that. And also, if you're rebuilding, if you're rebuilding, there's certain permitting that has to happen, and it would be great, rather than to start that permitting downtown, that you can have it in these various hubs where it's streamlined.
The permitting process is one we are looking and actively building out what the streamline of that will look like. We recognize, and the cost, we want to reduce barriers there to streamline and reduce costs for that. So the building division is in our emergency command center. They have been for about a week now, building out what that will look like. So that is in the works. I think we should be completing that here very, very soon. As far as having the hubs go, those hubs will have resources that can be mobilized. Some city departments can't be mobilized, but some can. And we do want to have as much information and as much access in those hubs as possible, because not only do we need to get that information out, so many people's cars were destroyed. I mean, there's so many ways in which people, injuries and other ways in which people have been demobilized, destabilized, and we want to make as many resources available in the community as possible. Those applications for the federal piece and all those assessments are going to be mobilized in community. So some of that work is already is underway, and I'm glad that you asked the question, because it will have value, I think, to the community. Thank you.
Hello. I have a question about crime. I know that a lot of people want to be near their homes because of looting and the potential of theft, and what the plan is on that. I'm seeing a lot on social media where people are looting or stealing bricks and wires and utility stuff, and so that's one question. And the other question will be related to having minority contractors in all of the city's plan, how we're going to make sure that they are involved in the process.
The minority contractor piece is the one that's important to me and important to all of us. We're trying to walk through that, especially as it relates to the federal requirements on DEI. So we're threading that needle carefully, but we also want to have we will have accountability reports at the end of this to really communicate what funds that we get from the public side, where they went. So we want to be threading that needle. We recognize in the applications and all the declarations we're going to follow federal guidelines, because we do not want to jeopardize any of the money that we know we need. And we're not going to do that. But we are going to make sure that the funds that we have are spent within the community. I am going to thread that very carefully here as we stand here and make sure that I'm not making any promises that can put any of the funding at risk. We're not going to do that. We're going to be very clear that we're not doing that. But it is important that we are empowering the community, and we will be reporting how that worked out in the end, and we'll have some reporting requirements that we're going to impose upon ourselves. Okay. And then the other question was the crime. I know our chief was here. Oh, there he is. Our chief is here, and maybe the chief would be better suited to answer those questions.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for having me. What a great question. And one of the things that happened, the mayor talked about when this thing happened, and this catastrophic incident happened, all boots on the ground. That includes the police department. So immediately, it's an all-call. It's called a 1200. That means every officer that on or off duty comes in and makes sure that they're standing up to assist under the mayor's leadership and the governor's leadership and how we get through this. As we did search and rescue, and the fire department did a phenomenal job coming in with the regional task force and coming in. As that's being done, after we've cleared all that, fire department starts to go back, things start to get stabilized, and then now it's a recovery effort. But the police department doesn't leave. We continue to keep our officers on 12-hour tours. They're going to continue to be on 12-hour tours, not just in the impact zone. But what you do is you're able to efficiently have more officers on the street, both in the impact zone, where the tornado went through, that the mayor talked about, 8 miles long, almost a half mile wide, but some also in the districts, because the lights went out in almost 100,000 residents, not just in that eye of the storm. So we had to make sure we had to keep the city safe throughout the city, and we're continuing those efforts to make sure that we can keep the city safe at the same time that we're taking care of the community that's most vulnerable right now. The community that's most vulnerable right now, I have been reporting out on a daily basis when the mayor has our press conferences, and we report out, at this time I believe we're up to almost 16 individuals that are cutting wire. When you go into the community to cut wire, you're actually working against the utility companies and trying to get electricity back to our community. So therefore, the circuit attorney is preferring charges against every single person that comes in. And more than half of them don't even live in the community. And they don't even live in our city. So they're coming in to take care of us for the most part. We're not going to have that with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. We're not going to have that under the mayor's leadership. We're not going to have that for our community coming together. We also talk about, you hear about the curfew, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. This curfew isn't to oppress anyone. This curfew is to keep everyone safe and to make sure you know we're in the community. We've only given out 7 curfew summonses. So we're using it judiciously, but we're using it as a tool to make sure we address individuals that don't belong in the neighborhood, that are doing things with ill intent. With ill intent. So those are the type of things we're going to be here. And as other units had naturally come down, you can't keep 1,000 firemen from throughout the region. They did their job and they did it spectacularly. And then they start to move back and go into their normal process. But we, the police, we're here 24 hours a day. We're in the community already, and we're going to continue to be. And then what we did is our command post has not left over on Delmar and North Kings Highway. We're going to keep that up there because I don't want to move it up to North Patrol. It's too far away. I want to keep it within the community. And even right now, I will be doing return roll call, but I'm here because this is very important for me to also hear with the mayor, with the community, and listening to everybody what your needs are. A lot of us have been going towards the mayor. I'm glad I was able to give her a little bit of a break right now. But I want to assure you, we got a good plan in place. We got a very good plan in place, and it's been minimal. What I am asking everyone to help us out, please call us. Please call us because your calls telling us who's suspicious. We are out there. And when we go, we can address those issues. If it comes down to bricks, That's a lot tougher than wire to be able to walk off the bricks. And if someone's trying to load up things and they're not a contractor and they're not authorized to do that, and those are some of the things we're working out with the contractors, how we register, and how the police department's gonna make sure we address people with ill intent, I always say. And then getting bricks out of there is a lot harder. If it's debris removal, we'll check it out, it's legit. If it's something that's, the person's not supposed to be doing it, we'll address that as well. So please continue to call 911. And we will triage the call, and we will farm it out accordingly. We are there, we have mobilized, we continue to mobilize, and continue to have additional officers in that area to assure you we're not leaving, and we're gonna be there with you because we're in this together, so thank you.
Thank you for coming, Mayor. My question is, there's a lot of information disseminated. Is there some kind of way we can outlet and book where, well, I mean, you know, and just give it out as we give out water and everything else?
Yes.
And also, could we create a line like 811, 611? Because a lot of people don't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they have a phone. And it's hard to tell somebody in 5 minutes everything that's going on. So if somebody's manning a line and they have a question and it's simple to get in, you know, that would help a lot.
The dissemination of information, we recognize we need to step up our game on that. The FAQ on the website should hopefully be helpful. The flyers that we have put out, we're looking to expand on all that, so we have tactile paper, you know, folks that aren't connected, that they're, you know, that they're having cell phone, other issues, we're working on that. And especially if folks are willing to help us disseminate the information, we'll work on getting it to you. And if there's something missing from the flyers as we're producing, let us know so we can improve upon them. Yeah, it's a great idea. I'm hoping in the coming days, right around the corner, we'll have that stuff to just be passing out as soon as possible.
Yeah, because I know it'll grow.
You know, where to take your debris, where it's going to be housed, how long it's going to be there, that sort of thing. We're working on getting that information out to you. Thank you.
Madam,
yes.
I will say that the Urban League has started today booklets that they're passing out to micro-buildings and have a lot of this information, and it's not complete. They have to start working on books, and so people can get that from the Urban League, some of those serious books.
We'll work on making sure it's standardized, so it's across the board and as complete as possible.
Hi, thank you for everything. This is an idea, and maybe a long-term idea, but I'm thinking about the long-term sustainability of funding for the city and for the long-term issues that residents are going to have with home repairs and roofs and everything. And I'm wondering if we could think, like sometimes cities establish a housing trust fund. And I think it could be an exciting way to either build it into the infrastructure, county, city-wise, I know that might be more tricky, but so that there's some kind of steady income that's coming to the city for these issues, but also it's a space where corporations can donate. And I think what we've seen is that, you know, everybody wants to open their pockets at this point to give as much as they can to help. And so if we can kind of build that infrastructure, I'm wondering if there's some idea like that, like a housing trust fund, where we could have different departments. Maybe there's a budget for caseworkers that support people in the community, or there's a budget for repairs, housing repairs, or roof repairs, or security deposits, or down payment assistance, or just the different needs, and then individuals, corporations, and potentially, if we built it into some kind of a tax system, it would stay replenished for the longer haul.
That's a great idea. We do have a nonprofit set up to take large corporate contributions that are going to go into the recovery efforts. The specifics of where they're going to, all those funds are going to go haven't been outlined. We've just started taking those. We know that some of those buckets that you identified are absolutely on the list, and it's about prioritizing what those funds are going to be distributed. I think we've got around $400,000 that have come in so far to that STL recovery fund, somewhere in that ballpark. So as we outline the priorities and what they're going to be spent on, that transparency is going to be a key component to that. So we'll be outlining where those funds will go and what, you know, the priorities associated with that fund in particular.
So if we're asking people to donate to your fund, is that the one on the website,
It is,
STL
yeah.
Recovery?
Yeah.
And then that's going to go into those different buckets?
It'll go into different buckets, absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
And then we'll clearly define that as we move through we don't want to we haven't defined that yet for a couple different reasons. One, we're going to first outline what we're going to get from the federal dollars, from the state dollars, and what we can reallocate from ARPA and other local funds. Once we get all that outlined, we're going to look at the gap, and then we're going to figure out where local, unencumbered funds need to go.
Yeah, and just another thought on that is that sometimes some of that funding ends up going to one or two nonprofits. And so if we could get it going to a conglomerate of nonprofits who are working together on homelessness and shelters or rapid rehousing or voucher aids or, or children, right? So it's strategic so that local nonprofits that are doing that work are coordinating to be able to do it. Thank you.
Before Mr. Bush comes, this will be the last question because based upon the time we had allocated, we wanted to hear from our older people. We do have someone from the National Red Cross.
You need to get me first.
Okay, we can take you off. Good. I mean, not good. Okay, you're
Let's
good.
go first.
That's all right. I'll shield all my time.
And we have somebody from the NWC.
He's tired.
So is that what you said you wanted to go first? Yeah. Is that what he said first? We just wanted, and as he's coming, because we have a question here, because we have two older people, three older women whose wards were devastated. And we wanted to make sure that A, we recognize them after the mayor finished her presentation, and B, that we gave them an opportunity to honor them for the work that they put in during this. But and the NWC, Mr. Bush.
Thanks, Mayor. I want to be praying that God continue to strengthen you during this ordeal. One of my questions is in reference to insurance. Would there be any public adjusters that the city has that could help some of the residents, once they go through the insurance process? Does the city have public adjusters?
We don't have public adjusters. We do have assessors through the assessor department that assess properties. And the assessor has come to the table to really, he was on boots on the ground Friday night, helping us to assess the damage. That was the critical first piece, and even getting the state serious about going for FEMA. Friday night, Mr. Ordway, who's an interim assessor, was helping us get that ball rolling and kept it rolling for the next few days. They assess properties, but I don't know about adjusters. I'll be honest with you on that front, on the insurance side. It's something we know is a big problem, and we're looking at all the remedies possible, but I don't know that I have that solution outlined as of right now.
Yeah, I'm really, really concerned. I think we all are in reference to the, to rebuild that structure. Is it in their policy, and what would it cost to rebuild? And my next question is, when would you know when the governor has decided to put out the funding for the uninsured?
The governor has asked the legislature to consider that. And that was a big move on his part. And that was in large part because the community he met talked about it, walking around on the streets in the impacted area. He understood that was a priority of our office, but he heard directly from the community that this was a major issue. And that data has borne out, and the preliminary information that we had that shows about 70% of folks are uninsured in this area. So that is a very clear, so the legislature makes that decision. He's asking them to consider that in this. So I think the really important piece here is to contact your state reps and senators to ask them to strongly support it. I also want to give a shout out to the minority floor leader, Representative, her last name is a strange one, Aune, and she came personally from Kansas City and on Sunday and took a tour with me, with us. We had her going around talking to residents and hearing directly how that issue impacts our community. So I think she's going to be a strong voice for us in the state house, but contacting your state, local electeds, that's the House of Reps and the senators, who will ultimately decide if that package gets through and approved.
Do you think the funding would be for replacement value for the uninsured?
I don't know what that looks like right now, to be honest. I haven't read through what is the proposed package. I don't think it's going to be a full replacement. These homes are irreplaceable. They're irreplaceable. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to fight for every penny that we can get into our community. Now, I want to turn it over to the Red Cross. I'll turn to the older persons, and I'm not going to leave until your questions are answered, okay? Because my last meeting got canceled. Or I got excused.
Good evening. Thank you, Pastor Boyd, for giving me this opportunity to speak at this time. And Brother Gray, all leadership, elected officials, thank you. But I am exhausted. I know you are too. But I'm running almost 24/7. And a lot of you may not know the pastors in your community, the pastors that lead you, serve you, and support you. They have been on the phone with the National American Red Cross since day one. We've been talking every night, planning, strategizing. They've been looking around the country for resources. They brought me in through the National American Red Cross from Atlanta, Georgia. My name is Smiley Fallen with the National American Red Cross. Tonight you talked about a couple of things. You mentioned hubs, you mentioned resources. You're talking transformation. This is your opportunity. This is your opportunity for transformation. This is your opportunity when you have 70% of renters, your opportunity to put your home buyers process in place, your financial literacy in place, and we got a strategy for you. Meaning, when I say we, I'm joining with your churches, your leadership. This is your time for transformation. If you never had a better time before, this is your time. We will get this federal declaration because God is in this. Trust me. Trust everything I'm saying to you. When you put your paper forward, that administration gonna look up and say, just like they did in Mississippi over there, them good folk too. And they deserve an opportunity after what they've experienced. But as I mentioned, your leadership has been planning. They've been in contact with the National American Red Cross. And today, as of today, let me digress just for a second. On Saturday, I believe, today is running close. Saturday, I believe, we had the Vice President here speaking with the community, speaking with the churches. As of this morning, Brad Kaiserman, the National Vice President for the American Red Cross, approved the faith-based disaster response and relief initiative for St. Louis. In partnership with the American Red Cross and the faith community of St. Louis, the purpose is to unite the faith-based community of St. Louis with American Red Cross in delivering compassionate, coordinated disaster relief, response, and recovery services that meet the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs of individuals and families impacted by the May 16 tornadoes. Mission: to empower churches and faith organizations to serve as trusted community anchors during disaster recovery, delivering emergency services, food, water, and resources block by block, heart by heart. The American Red Cross will engage churches and other faith-based organizations and nonprofits and other community groups with the intent of mobilizing teams that can provide outreach and emergency relief distribution in the community. This effort will be accomplished by both faith-based volunteers canvassing in designated areas of the community, as well as faith-based organizations providing facilities to serve as emergency relief hubs for the distribution of information and services. This initiative is led by a faith-based engagement coordinator, supported by a faith-based engagement liaison, operating within the disaster relief operational structure. Strategy: community mobilization, and communication. Engage churches across St. Louis to serve as emergency relief hubs to disseminate critical relief information and emergency services. Coordinate with church leaders for deployment of block-by-block outreach teams to assess urgent community needs and report back to the American Red Cross Operations Center. Equip church leaders and volunteers with Red Cross updates, preparedness training, and resource guides for their community. Emergency food distribution. Activate church kitchens, pantries, and fellowship halls as meal preparation and distribution centers. Coordinate hot meal deliveries in impacted neighborhoods through trained church volunteers. Ensure critical, appropriate, nutritious meals are served to all with special attention to vulnerable populations, elderly, disabled, families with small children. Relief and resource coordination. Work alongside nonprofit partners and local officials to ensure streamlined aid delivery. Provide direct assistance to individuals and families who meet American Red Cross eligibility criteria. Facilitate their access to shelter, financial aid, and recovery tools. Churches will serve as distribution points for water, hygiene kits, emergency supplies, and Red Cross provided resources. Engage church and other community social service programs to develop a comprehensive resource and referrals for client needs beyond the scope of Red Cross programs. Engage faith-based leaders in trauma-informed care, prayer support, and community healing gatherings. Help families immediate response pathways, including insurance navigation, disaster legal aid, and employment assistance. Data reporting and accountability. Churches will help track the needs and services provided in their areas to ensure accurate reporting and accountability. Regular coordination of meetings between Red Cross liaisons and church initiative leaders will guide strategy and response. Feedback loops will allow for continued improvements in service delivery and reach. Our operation structure. Faith-based engagement coordinator will support the mobilization of faith communities alongside the Red Cross. Faith-based engagement liaison will coordinate communication between the American Red Cross faith leaders, report to the administration, maintain active communication with elected officials. Church coordinators. Church coordinators, community members that lead relief teams with their congregations and neighborhoods. So let me finish. We have targeted strategies, and I'll cut through it because I've just been told we want to get out of here. And I don't blame you. So let me get down to the call to action. The American Red Cross invite all faith-based institutions in the St. Louis region to join hands in service to to be the light in the storm, the warmth in the cold, and the voice of hope during disaster recovery. Working alongside the American Red Cross to deliver emergency relief and recovery information to the community.
All right.
We plan to work with you.
I didn't say we want to get out of here. I didn't say it. Well, I didn't say it exactly that way. Because this was intended to be an information session, and so we want to make sure we get all the information.
I have a question for the American Red Cross.
American Red Cross, if you come back up, we have a question, and as you're coming, this evening was coordinated by the St. Louis Metropolitan Clergy Coalition, the Michigan Baptist State Baptist Convention, and religious organizations and leaders from throughout the city and the region. This is not a one-person coordination. And the mayor's office was excited. They worked hand in glove with us to make sure that this happened, but they wanted to come when they had information to share. So there's a question from Red Cross?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm aware that this is kind of a new thing for the Red Cross. This faith-based liaison is working with. I'm curious about your history with or how you plan to partner with organizations like UMCOR and Catholic Charities that already have a model for this within the city, and how we can be working together.
Oh, absolutely. Collaboration through either VOAD or COED, how you want to do it. And you know we have a long history with those organizations.
Yeah, absolutely.
We work with them throughout history. I don't see why we won't work with them now.
So are you the person we should be talking to?
You can talk to me on Lucretia Cox. Okay?
Yep.
Transformation time.
I'll just add to that, our office has been trying to work with Lucretia as well. And so we will also try to help liaison where we can, and where it's helpful.
Absolutely. And Mayor, we will be talking because, of course, this is a full community effort. CDBG, one and other dollars that are coming to this town. And let me mention this. The American Red Cross is not just putting together the plan. I wrote it a couple of days ago. But we plan to seed this initiative with resources.
And nobody paid me to say this, but our community is going to work with everyone who's prepared to work with us. And so organizations who have been here, organizations who are coming in, and we're going to vet those organizations to make sure that those organizations are not coming simply with an appetite. And so we're not naive. None of us are naive. So we, as the NAACP president comes, and then we'll ask all the people, we do want to say, someone mentioned the Mountain City Bar Association is already, they're doing an insurance claims and pop-up support. So if you are connected with anybody with the Mountain City Bar Association, you can contact them for that information, or this information, all the information that we're getting. The mayor's office has been sending us information. We've been distributing that information through our church-based social media and the Clergy Coalition website. And so we'll continue to put that information out there. And so Adolphus Pruitt with the NAACP.
Good evening. I wasn't supposed to be going. I just had a quick question, but I will say, on behalf of the NAACP, where we are confident in the work you're doing and the job you're doing, and we don't have any complaints whatsoever about what's going on. We've been out on the Lord Jesus as we're walking through about 6 miles of debris, and so we've been out there too. The one thing, question I had, a request is that, you know, our job first and foremost is to seek out any sort of disparate impact or discrimination going on and try to deal with it and abate it. And actually, we've been fighting with the Missouri Fair Plan since August of last year because they owe this city so much because Missouri. Just so you know, Missouri Fair Plan is if you apply for insurance from the regular market and can't get it, you're supposed to be able to go to the Missouri Fair Plan, which is made up of all the insurance companies, and get get insurance. We started dealing back in August because what we found out, Mayor, what they were doing was these same, everybody keeps saying this, we got 70% uninsured. What they're not saying is that a lot of the ones that are uninsured or underinsured was because the Missouri Fair Plan wouldn't give them insurance. And the ones and then on top of that, they would only give them fire insurance. They wouldn't give them wind and tornado, even though they requested it. So we have people saying they're uninsured, but they're only uninsured because the safety net did not work. And we've been fighting them since August about this. And I bring that up to say that we want access to the data. You're doing the surveys, you're knocking on doors. You know, it's our job to basically say, hey, yes, it's 3,000 people, whatever 1,000 people, and look out to make sure that they have an equitable access to everything that they need. You know, we've asked the Red Cross for some of that data, they're going to share it, but we get access to the data that the city has. It really help us go a long way in fighting the discrimination and some of the other stuff that is going on, because nobody's really tracking it, and we're tracking it as much as we can, but we need the data from the city.
The Missouri Fair Plan is not something that I know a lot about, to be honest. So I'm grateful that you brought this to our attention here. We're talking about it. We understand. I understand a lot of why people are underserved, because they couldn't get a plan that they could afford, because rates have skyrocketed, particularly in this area. I am not that familiar with Missouri's safety plan. We will become experts on it, I can assure you. I did not realize that was such an issue. Thank you.
And we actually copied the letter from the director. He wrote us and he had to admit that we did not offer them insurance other than fire insurance.
Okay.
We would not give them wind and damage insurance.
I have some other ideas on some other organizations that can help us with that focus on consumer issues. That you remember my time with Consumers Council Missouri. This could be an issue that we could also have some advocacy and a long-term strategy for. But in the meantime, we will take that seriously. I'm being very upfront with you. I am not very aware of that issue right now. We will become aware of that issue and that's something we'll move forward with. Okay. Did the older women want to speak? Before I said
All right, now we're going to hear from our automatic representatives. If we are in church, but if this was a church worship, they always give the preachers 2 minutes. Y'all heard that at these, right? You got 2 minutes and then they take 20, you know. Show the preachers how to do this, all right? But all the women keys, all the women ties, all the women Club Clark, are coming that on. And you all know Sharon Titus cannot talk for 2 minutes. So I'm going to be brief. I'm standing up here. Let the people see you.
Come on, Pam, boy.
Where's Pam? Is she still back there? So you all are here in the 11th ward, the elevated 11th ward. We'll be down right now. But it's all right, we're going to be back up again. So here in this ward, and all of us have been working so well together to do everything that we can to serve the people who are suffering through this tragic state of affairs that we seem to find ourselves in at this time. I don't have a whole lot that I need to say this evening, but I did want to address just a few things. Robin Davis from the Recorder of Deeds office is here, and we have had ongoing discussion about creating an environment where the Recorder of Deeds office could possibly be at the Urban League office and set up, an office there for people who can't make it downtown certainly, we know that parking would be amazingly easier in a mobile location such as that. Additionally, I'm a former insurance producer. I used to have 5 insurance licenses. And based on that level of expertise, as it were, I would advise anybody who has or have insurance prior to the tornado. If you choose to use an insurance adjuster, please check them out thoroughly before you hire them. They will receive their monies from the proceeds of your claim. The other thing that I will say to you about your insurance is this: please do not accept a quick settlement. You have no idea what condition your home is really in. Don't be in a hurry, and then 2 or 3 months later, you find out that a wire was severed and something else is going on, or you just don't know. So that's part of the reason why you may want to use an adjuster. But in any case, look at your policy. This is a very good time while we're waiting on all of this funding and stuff to come in. If you have a policy, take the time to read your policy very thoroughly and make sure that your policy covers those things that you think it covers. A lot of times, policies are reduced and you don't even know it. About a year ago, I started receiving calls from residents telling me that their insurance had been canceled because they needed to get a new roof or they needed to have the back porch torn down and rebuilt. Well, these are people on fixed income, they couldn't do it, so their insurance got canceled. The insurance company started sending drones over people's houses about a year ago. And so that helped to create the perfect storm of sorts that we find ourselves in now. So on that tip, that's what I'm going to say to you about insurance. My role is not here to be up here to talk to you about the insurance, but as an alderman with the city of St. Louis, please rest assured that we all are working round the clock in your best interest in doing everything that we can. I'm a bit more mobile, maybe, to me, might have me beat, but every morning I go and pick up wood, I pick up tarps, I pick up cleaning supply, whatever I need to pick up, because I got a pickup truck. I'm that kind of chick. You know, I'm not a girly girl, as you may have noticed. And so I don't mind doing that sort of thing. I pick up plywood, I haul it, you know, whatever got to be done, I'm up for it. And so this is just a part of who I am and how I do things. That's not to take away from the strengths of any other alder, because I'm telling you, Sharon Tigers, baby. That's right. You know, that's when I'm got to smack you and say, baby, let me tell you, she has more education and more expertise than any alderman downtown. We are so blessed to have her level of education and institutional knowledge. Let me introduce her and get on out. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you tonight, right here, the one and only, the incomparable. We're going to tell it just like it is. Sharon Tigers. There you go.
Fortunate to have a group of people that I work with. I have a mayor that I absolutely adore, and every time I get a chance, I tell you about the good job she's doing. And she's also a person that does not keep her word. I passed out the other day at a press conference, and I said, "Don't call my husband, don't call him." And she's like, "Okay, Sharon, I'm not going to call your husband." And then she said, "Here's your husband right here." So I just want you to know. No, but I'm going to give her a break. She is tired. I'm looking at her now. She's going to go, yes, she is. Yes, she is. She needs to go home. I'm going to be the big sister to say she needs to go home. She has answered all our questions. Anything you want to do, know from me, I'll stay here. Tell her to go home. Good night. I appreciate you. She's done an excellent job. I've had 7 mayors I've worked with. None better. Go home. Go home. privilege has been through 7 mayors. I've been here since 1991. I love my job. I've probably given up $3 to $5 million that I could have earned doing something else because I absolutely love my job in community. I love it. I care about it. And now I know why God made me run again, because I was thinking about not. Because this disaster was coming. Why I went to law school was because my husband and I have been rehabbing since 1979. And I wanted to know about how things worked. So I had a management degree and an undergraduate degree in accounting, but I wanted to know the law. So I went to law school, and my husband has a master's in urban affairs, and we've been rehabbing. So all of this is now coming together. He's been the head of LRA, he worked for CDA, all of these things. We've been rehabbing houses for a long time now. We know how to get resources. Laura says she has people, she go picks them up. When you've been in office as long as I have people who bring it to me, okay? I have people who bring it to me. They bring it into the middle of my community, and I want to say this man right here, I say it each time, Reverend Gray, he's been right there, boots on the ground all the time with me. Anything that I've needed, he's done it. All the other ministers, anything I've called, they've done it. He tells me where I need to be, I try to be there. But I also have been out in the community talking to people. And I tell people sometimes hard truths, okay? I am a landlord. But when I was in law school, I was a landlord, but I also worked for legal services to keep people in their houses. I wanted to know both sides of them. I've been a public defender. I've been at the board. I fight for people's rights. I've been at the board since 91. I've had my ward stripped from me because I did $57 million worth of work. And they tore my ward up. Not because it wasn't successful, because it was successful. We voted, okay? And so you have to tear that up. You have to strip people of their seniority. All that is to try to dehumanize me and to make me mediocre. I'm not mediocre. I'm a she queen. I'm a she queen. You understand? My mother raised me that way. So whatever you do to me, and still I rise. And I don't have to be a chair of a committee or anything to serve my people. So this gave me the freedom to be out in my community. Every day I see the fire chief, I see somebody else. I'm out knocking doors, talking to people, finding out what they need, and telling them some hard truths. Because if you have a red sticker on your house is not more important than you. Everybody says, oh, well, they're not gonna have their house. Okay, but you might have the land and you still will have your life. You cannot be in these buildings that have a red sticker on them, because as it rains and it settles, it's all kind of environmental stuff. You have to care about you more than your stuff. And sometimes God strips you of your stuff to let you know what's important. Me not having my seniority, Megan Green thinks she did something to me. She freed me up to tell the truth about who she is every time I get a chance, okay? If I was her, I would have said, Sharon Tosh, you should chair this, and this committee. Because then I would have been in there taking care of this. But since you free me up, I'll say your name every time and talk about that you're an atheist. And I believe in God. And my God is stronger than the atheist, okay? That's what I'm telling you. And I'm telling you to say, please care about your life and what's important. We can get more stuff. We're going to find the best deal we can. And this is what God has done. We got 2 U.S. senators that are Republican that are out there advocating for us, okay? Think about that. They can get to Donald Trump's ear better than we can, because we are up there saying, oh no, we don't like Donald Trump. Okay, but look who the president is. So we need Josh Hawley and we need Eric Schmidt. So I'm going to say thank you to them. Every time I see them, I'm going to call their office. I'm going to say you're doing a wonderful job, because this is when you have to come together to care about your community more than your ego. So I'm good at moving out the way, okay? Because I like knocking on my doors and talking to my people, telling them how to do, giving them my personal phone number, being able to contact me. That is all part of being the basis of an alder person. You can't you can't take nothing out of my head. What I have learned, I learned when I was 7 years old, when a little white woman told the black children she don't care if we would learn or not. And I went home and I said, Mom, this white lady told us she don't care. And she said, well, you learned something, didn't you? You learned that when you have something in your head, you don't have to teach anybody. So, I got stuff in my head at the Board of Aldermen. All the people who trying to marginalize me, you're marginalizing yourself, okay? Because at the end of the day, they on my phone. Oh, woman, how did you do that? I say, baby, you got it. You're running it. Now, when you get up and say, what I did is wrong, and you say, that was wrong what I did, then we're going to be all right. Other than that, I'm just Anytime Laura Keys call me, I pick up the phone, don't I? If the mayor calls me, I pick up the phone. But if you're trying to marginalize me and you think that you are more important than the better good of what is it in North St. Louis, I'm never going to be okay with that. And I'm going to fight you, and I will get rid of you. That's why I'm on my 7th mayor. I'll be with you, and then I won't be with you. And I don't mind if I lose, because losing is not more important than telling the truth. Anything that I can do to help my community, I will. I will. When they were new, I will. All they board bills, I was the chair of streets and traffic. I've been the chair of almost everything. I would write stuff for my community. I would write the board bills. Everybody who loves speed humps, I wrote that. Everything you see up on Natural Bridge, from the Snooks to the Walgreens, that's all my legislation. I know how to do that, and we owe that to the community. We're not going anywhere. We're staying right here. We're not leaving. I'm going to stop. We're not leaving. We're not leaving. We're not going to leave. We're going to stay here. And I have people calling saying, this is somebody who is a very well-known person, called me and said, Sharon, I feel so bad that I left. You and Sterling are doing the darn thing. I want to come back and help my community. I said, I know where our house is for sale, right on the street that you left. Come on back. Tell your family to come back. This is ours. We're not going to be doing anything. We will tell you. One is that we can build new houses with build rent to own. That way we'll put the people right back. We can build them real fast, and then you do rent to own. Then they'll own back in their community. The other thing is we have people who have a big insurance policy, and maybe they have a big deductible. One of my ideas is to pay the deductible. Get those people to working on their houses. It gets harder when you don't have any insurance at all. But I want to say something else. I've been around long enough to remember there was a black state rep up in Jefferson City, and Pruitt will know this person, who used to work for the insurance company. And every time we tried to get something going for the black people and the people of small means, he blocked for the insurance company. So this is not a white or black issue. This is a doing the wrong thing issue. I am committed to this community. I'm committed to work with whoever I need to work with to get us resources. If I have to go visit Donald Trump and say, you the man, that's what I'll do to get our resources. Thank you so much.
Good evening, my name is Shamik Park-Hubbard. I come here this evening not to speak but just to listen. I want to thank you all for calling this very necessary meeting and creating this space for us, because we know here that there are some things that all of us can do, there are some things that some of us can do, there are some things that only one or two of us can do, and the sooner we identify where people stand in their positions and their power and work with them together, the sooner we'll be able to move our communities together. I know for sure that many and most of the movements that have happened in our communities started in churches, church basements, for that matter, right? So again, I just came here to listen, stand 10 toes down from the 10th Ward in support of you all and whatever greatness that comes out of this meeting. Thank you for having me.
So we want to thank all of our elected officials. If you're here and you hold an elected office, just stand on your feet. If those that remain, we had a lot of those that were here earlier. Really glad to see you. That's my other member right there. Did he leave? Good. All right. So we're grateful. Good to see you. All right. Listen, thank you all for coming out. This is only the first of a number of community-based meetings that we're going to be bringing the people with the answers to, so that they can speak directly to this community. And so we need you to just continue to watch the posts. The small town halls are going to be taking place, and that's where you're going to have an opportunity to really drill down into some specifics about those things that greatly concern your particular cases. And so be looking out for that. There are going to be other educational opportunities for individuals to get trained up so that you can do a better job at protecting your own futures. And so we're excited about the opportunities that are before us. Please understand, you can look at it as a disaster or an opportunity. I choose to see this as an opportunity to do even better moving forward than we were able to do in the past. So I want to thank each of you all for coming. Thank our host pastor, once again, Dr. Brown. opening up those doors. Great leader among us, and we thank God for him. That's one of my close personal friends, and I'm grateful for him. Thank each and every one of you. If you're a pastor and you're still here, would you just raise your hand? God bless you. God bless you. Closing up by saying this, that as faith leaders, we now have an opportunity to be at a major table. One that we've never sat at before. And there may be some people that heard about this opportunity and now all of a sudden you're feeling some kind of way. I just want to say, you've had chances to create your tables. It never happened. This is one that the whole community is going to have access to. This is not about any one person getting big. This is about adding some credibility to the faith-based work so that others who are looking for partners will have somewhere to go and somebody who they can trust to carry out the mission. Amen. Amen. Give you an example. We had a meeting, and before we closed the meeting, somebody raised the issue about housing of a family, a mother with 7 children. And before we left that meeting, the American Red Cross went to work and secured housing. That's what we're trying to do. Be at the table so that when you call and you have an issue, we don't have to wonder who to call. We're the ones that you call, and we can get the job done. So we ask you to continue to pray with us, to pray for this city and its future, because it looks bright as long as we work together. God bless you, God keep you. Amen. Yes, sir.
With the Red Cross for the last 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that we have a working relationship
Amen.
with the Red Cross throughout that process.
That's beautiful. Come on up and close us out in a word of prayer, since you're on your feet now, right? I'll put in the word, amen. Thank you again for coming.
Let us pray. Gracious God, Father, we come now. Thank you for all that we've heard and all that we have seen. We thank you for every presenter. We thank you for every question. And we thank you for every answer. Now, as we prepare to go down from this place, we ask you to go with us with traveling grace and arrival mercies. In Jesus' name, let's all say amen.